What is up, everybody? RLTK podcast. Jordan here with my boy Chris. Chris, what is good?
What's up, big bro?
Just chilling, bro. Hey,
Already.
first time this season we got a guest on, so hopefully this dude doesn't disappoint. You know what I'm saying? He's not a scrub. I mean, we about to find out if he got it or not. My boy Houston. Houston, what's good, bro?
Hey, what's up, y'all? How we doing?
We living, bro. I mean, I'm just like,
Doing well.
you was talking crazy a little bit ago about the Cowboys, so I'm just wondering if you want to keep that same energy on the
Oh yeah,
podcast. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Hey man, they're some of the most delusional fans I've ever met in my life. Um, hey, I'll give it to you, man. You guys are unique, man. I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
What do you mean we unique, bro? You a unique hater. That's what you are.
I'm just saying, I've never met fans that have just celebrated mediocrity.
Wow.
The
But
way
we
that
got do we have more championships than you though?
we're tied, but we can
Are
talk
we?
about that at a different time. Yeah, we got 5. Y'all got 5.
I mean, were you called something else other than the 49ers when you won those other 4?
No, sir. No, sir.
No?
Nah,
Okay.
we're not one of those.
Were you like the Iowa 49ers when you won those first 4 or something? Somewhere else?
See, this is why I know you're from England, bro. The 49ers, the gold mining, bro. It's from the Bay Area, bro. Like that's what they came from, man. So
Got you.
I'll put you on game sometime, man. You let me know when you want
I
the
appreciate
need a
the history, bro.
Hey,
So you from the Bay?
I'm from Central California, so I'm from Merced, California. So
Okay, so you're not from the Bay?
not hey, we still listen to Mac Dre where I'm from. So yeah. Hey,
Oh man.
we'll claim that over Southern California. So yeah,
Uh-oh. All right, well, I'll leave that alone for right now. But
yeah,
hey man, grateful to have you on the pod, bro. Thanks for jumping on with us and
yes sir, yes
diving
sir.
into some conversation today. So, man,
Mm.
I just want to kick this thing off. I mean, obviously I know what you do, but our listeners don't know what you do. But before we jump into what you do, I want to hear a little bit about who you are. Like, tell us your story, where you came from, like you just told us, like what
Yeah,
happened, how'd you get to doing what you're doing now, and obviously, this conversation, we talk about Jesus, we talk about what it means to be a Christian and all those different types of things in our world, in our context. So share a
yeah,
little bit about that with us too.
yeah, man. I'm my name's Houston Woodard, man. I'm the third. So most of my family, I go by trade with my family. But I'm from Merced, California, man. So up by Fresno, if you know Fresno, so just north of Fresno. Growing up with my pops and my dad's a motorcycle guy, so he's in what they call motorcycle club, but I think it could be called a little bit different word where they kind of wilding out. And my mom struggled with drugs for a long time. Got brothers, and most of my brothers did the gang stuff. And we got lucky and moved to Arizona when I was right before my sophomore year. So August of 2003, moved here, and that literally, man, that legitimately saved my life, man. I know for a fact, just coming where I come from, that just not, the just that grind that all my brothers was on and doing the gang stuff. And so I moved out here, man, and it really helped me and my sister. So graduated. I lived in Glendale, Arizona. Went to Independence High School, and then when I graduated, man, from 18 to 21, I was still going to school, doing community college, and then my scholarship started running out. And so my scholarship ran out. At the time, I was working at USAA, which is like a military bank, and your boy was doing credit card collections, man, during the recession. So doing that, yeah, bro, I was getting cussed out every day and carrying on. But I sat next to a dude that told me about the GI Bill in the military, because I was kind of whining about the cost of college. And so he told me about the GI Bill, and where I'm from, man, like nobody ever talked to you about going in the military, man. So that was never, I was like, oh, I'm cool, bro. Like, that ain't for me. And, just, I think at this time, I grew up as a Christian too, like not like definitely not plugged in my faith. More so I went until like my dad gave us a choice to not go anymore once we hit like 12 or 13 years old. And it was all through my granny, man. Like my granny is the real reason why I know who Jesus is.
Hey,
And
shout out to
so,
grandmothers, bro, for
oh
real.
man,
Like
no doubt, man.
my
Hey,
grandmother was the first person I called when I
dude,
became a Christian. First
dude,
person, bro. Shout out to grandmothers, dog, for
dude,
real.
granny, hey, 90 years old, man. Arbel Woodard, man. Love her to death, man. And,
That's dope.
was I grew up in a Pentecostal church, man. So like they always talking about backsliding, and so I was backsliding 100% from 18 to 21, man. And I joined the military, man, and I was a combat medic, and that matured me, man. So I went in at 21. I met my wife while I was in San Antonio at my medic school. My wife was here in Arizona. She worked with my sister. Got linked up, just got her phone number. We talked just all through phone. So for June is when I started talking to her, and then I came home in August when I finished. Came home in August, spent my little 10 11 days that I had off, and then I got lucky and I got stationed in Hawaii. So in August I left to Hawaii, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she came out in October to visit. I came back home in December, and this is 2010, and came home in December, and I proposed, and thank God she said yeah, right.
Yeah,
And
you weren't playing no games. You're locking that
no
up
games. Hey,
quick.
I played no games, man. She was already had her nursing degree, and just like just a great woman, man. And so December, and then I got married in March, bro, right before my deployment, man. Like, so
Dang.
we had all the plans to have my ceremony after my deployment, but the Merced in me realized that, man, if I was deployed and married, I made a lot more money. So I threw the pitch out there to my wife, and she went with it, man. So and then so did that, went to Afghanistan for a year. Saw some wild stuff, but God got me through it, and that was honestly during my deployment, bro. It was the most I ever prayed in my life, man. Still to this day, like, because you start,
Dang.
like, as a medic, bro, man, you start seeing some, like, you thought coming from Merced was rough, bro. You hit that deployment life, man. It's real out there, and so thank God I got through that without having I got like some like crazy, not like the wild PTSD where you're like having diving for cover and all this, but just like loud unexpected noises. But man, I really give a huge thanks to God getting me through that, man. And came back from deployment, living in Hawaii, and we went to church like, I don't know, two times a month, maybe. My wife was always prompting it, but I used to be like, I'd rather go golf or go play football or whatever. And then when we got out, man, when I got out in January of 2014, we moved here, and my wife, she had been going to CCV since high school, and so started going there. I was, it was the biggest draw for me was that it was 1 hour, man. Like, that sounds terrible, but it was 1 hour. Like, growing up, man, small black church, bro, like, you didn't know when you was going home. So, you know, like, you got altar calls, they're gonna pass that plate one more time, and so it just, you sit there, and I feel like, especially being in that Pentecostal church, when I was trying to take my faith a little bit more serious around like 12, 13 years old, I remember sitting there, like, seeing people passing out and speaking in tongues. And I used to be like, man, like, when am I supposed to pass out? You know what I mean? And so, like, it made me feel very man, like maybe God doesn't see me. Not that I didn't lose my faith by any means, but it just, I did not feel connected with God. And then, and so that's January. I started going to the church, and when I say we dove into it, man, like, my wife had me going to neighborhood group, and I was like, man, this is whack, bro. And it was on Mondays. So it's Monday night. There's Monday. You got football and all that, man. And so my heart wasn't in neighborhood group, but I was there, right? Like, it was in. And then, man, on February 1st, man, got the news. February 1st of 2014, my little brother got shot and killed back home, man. And within 20 minutes of getting that news, my boy Mike, who I'm tight with, he showed up to my house. I wasn't tight with him at all at the time, and he was just in that neighborhood group. My wife reached out for prayer, and he came to my house like unexpectedly, and he's like, "Hey, man, I just want to pray with you, man." And that was weird to me, right? Like, you're not used to that. So he prayed with me, and then, man, in the days leading up to me leaving back home for the funeral, people just reaching out, asking if they can bring me a meal and what can we do and blah. And like in my head, I'm like, man, I just wish y'all leave me alone, right? Like, let me grieve, man. Like, let me grieve. And so we went home, did the funeral, and came back, and they still reaching out to me, right? Like, just not what I'm used to. That's not, where I'm from, man. It's not. You don't get that. Not that you're not loved by any means, but it's not like that. You know what I mean? And so,
No doubt.
When that happened, man, I think God finally just like kind of just hit me in the nose. Was like, bro, stop being stupid. I'm trying to put people in your life that truly care about you. You know what I mean? Like, whether white, black, Hispanic, whatever it is, like, these people care about you. These people have reached out to you more than your family has. And it's not a knock on my family by any means, but that's just not our way of showing love. And so after that, man, man, we fully bought in. Like, during that time, I was going to school to be a teacher, or going to education, to be a history teacher. So I started working at the church, just doing operations while I was while I was in school, and got to know some people. And I started being a junior high coach. I did that for 4 years, and I was a high school coach for another 4 years. So now I'm teaching, and I was one class away from finishing my master's in educational leadership. So my goal was to go the admin route. And one of my boys that I'm connected with, he started asking me about ministry, and I was like, yeah, bro, I didn't go to Bible college, man. Like, I'm not no pastor material. And we were at San Diego State for high school camp, man. And there's a song that our church has that it's called Fearless. And the production of at the church is amazing. And so this song's on in the morning session, bro. And man, your boy, it just hit me, bro. And I'm tears just running down my face, man. And I think it was finally God telling me, like, hey, man, I'm calling you to ministry right now. Like, my fear was, the fact of not, my past, and not being a Bible college guy, not a cat that is the dude that's going to drop, Bible verses off the top of my head. That's never been me. And so that Fearless song, man, and like part of the verse was like, I am fearless. I don't walk through the valley alone. I am fearless. Through the darkest of roads, your love will carry me on. And bro, that later that day, one of the student pastors, or like one of the guys on the development side, he reached out to me and asked me to go to lunch. And we went. And he's like, hey, man, you interested in ministry? And so I was finally like, I think that was the first time I was like, oh yeah, I think so, man. And the biggest fear for me is, especially like being somebody that's played sports, right? Like Jordan, I know you played at a high level, and you're used to being good at what you do, right?
Yep.
Like, and then when I was a teacher, man, like I don't say this from like a bragging kind of way, but like I was a good teacher. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew I was a good teacher, and I knew when I finished my master's, I knew I'd be a great administrator. Like, that's my like view of it, right? And I think the scariness of being a trash pastor, or a guy that was not equipped for it, scared the heck out of me, right?
I feel
And
that,
so
bro.
I finally, that Fearless song hit me, and so I was about to sat down with a couple of dudes to be a student pastor, and then just didn't work out. They needed me to move to a different community, and at the time my wife was pregnant, and where we live, like, her best friend's around the corner. It just bad timing. And then a guy that Jordan knows, a dude by the name of Harry,
Shout out to
reached out to me,
Demos.
man, and about our sports ministry, and it didn't require me to move or anything like that. And so I jumped in, man, and I did the sports ministry for. I was a football and baseball pastor. Did that for I think almost 2 years, and then finally got a spot opened up over at our Maryville campus for a student's role, and I took it, man. And so I know it's kind of long winded. There's still a lot more in that story, but trying to get to where kind of not waste too much time on that, man. So yeah.
No, I appreciate that, bro. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing with us, man. That's dope. Kind of
Yeah.
helping us understand how you got here.
Yeah.
You just said baseball, and did you say baseball and football pastor? It's probably a bunch of people
Yeah.
like, huh?
Yeah.
Huh? What is that?
Bro. Man, it's so Jordan, you worked in it. We
I
have a
did.
massive sports ministry, man. And
Yep.
one of the dopest things to me was being able to do ministry through sports, right? Like something I love, man. I love sports, man. Like it could be whatever, right? Like I'm not no soccer player by any means, but like
Yeah, you not.
I just love sports, right? Like I'll handle Jordan in FIFA though, but
Yeah,
like
stop.
yeah, just saying.
Quit that. Quit that, bro.
We'll
Quit that.
leave that.
Quit
We'll
that.
leave that for
Quit
another
that, bro.
story. But but it was amazing, man. So my like you're kind of like an athletic director, and then you just like your main role, man, is coaches is just trying to it was so real to me where I'd get guys that would come to me and be telling you about whatever problems going on in life. And these are, I was 32 when I started working there. And so to me, to have somebody that was a little bit older than me and coming and asking me about life, and I'm like, man, you done live more life than I have, man. But like, that's when you started to understand like the importance of the pastoral side of the sports ministry. And so, yeah, it was, so I did football and did baseball, man. It was good.
Yes, that's dope.
Yeah,
So now you're a student pastor in Maryville. So
I am.
we get
Junior
into the
high and high
beats of
school,
it.
man. Yeah.
And anybody who's listening to this podcast that has no idea what Maryville is or where it is, what would you
Yeah.
want them to know about Maryville?
Hey, Maryville is it's actually pretty diverse community, man. It's definitely a little bit rougher. Where our campus is at, it's a little on the outskirts. But a really dope story was there's a church that actually was kind of like dwindling in size. It was a Baptist church called Maryville Baptist. And they prayed on it and like gave us the building, man. Like it's amazing, and they're still plugged in, bro. Like it's there's a lady named Miss Katie. She's a amazing woman, man, and she is there consistently. And so, but that community, man, is now you got GCU that has grown so massively. So that's a big part of the community too. But Maryville, man, just some hardworking people in that area. You got folks that have come from different countries that are there, bro. You big time with like oh my goodness, I'm gonna probably mess this up, but I think it's Cambodian. A lot of Cambodian folks, Hispanic. You got a lot of folks like different areas of Africa that live over there. And then you got people that have been in Maryville, like Miss Katie, that have been there. She's been in the same house, bro, since 1957.
Dang.
Bro, bought the crib for $7,000, man. $7,000, like it. So it's such a cool community where you literally get all walks of life, man. And so it's been a really fun opportunity, man.
Got you.
Yeah.
So what are some of let's get into like the urban ministry piece. Like what are some of the successes you're seeing and what are some of the challenges that you're seeing being in the context you're in? You're in a hard, rough, diverse part of town where there's a lot of beauty and a lot of tragedy.
Yeah.
And how is it doing ministry in that context?
Yeah, I think it's you can't be you can't be soft. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get rejection. You're gonna get inconsistency. But man, like what I've learned is just when someone shows up, man. One thing I've learned, like through like my campus pastor, that has really done a great job with this is us being intentional with knowing people's names, man. That's gone, bro. And I'm not even talking just from the students' perspective, but just the people that have come to our Maryville campus. When you hear somebody so surprised that we remembered your name because you came to our starting point class or we met you, man, like that goes such a long ways, bro. Like my name, like Houston is a very easy name to remember, right? And I used to be really bad at like if I met Jordan for the first time, dap you up, hey, I'm Houston, right away. Like I haven't really locked in on your name yet, right? And so now I'm like intentional, be like, hey, like let's say I see Jordan next week at church, and I'm like, hey, Jordan, what was your name again, man? Like remind me your name. Before I wouldn't do that. I just be like, hey, what's up, bro? What's up, dude? You know what I mean? Like, and so that intentionality. But from a student's perspective, man, we've we just got back from high school camp last week. And we had 14 kids go, man, from our Maryville campus. So we had 6 dudes and 8 ladies that went, and it was man, to see, like, Jordan, like what CCV does, man, and with our students ministry at camp, bro, like the production of it's just like other world, man. It's like worship 2 times a day is like going to a legit concert, right? And so my boy Maker, man, so I got connected with the 2 specific guys, a dude named Maker, and Emil. They both go to Cortez High School, and bro, the Maker told me in our one-on-one, man, he said, hey coach, this is the best week of my life.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, and Maker, man, dude, his family is from Sudan. You would never know this kid struggled. He's just a happy dude, bro. But to hear him say that, man, was just like, it made you feel like, okay, man, like this is why we do ministry, right? This is, yes, would it be dope to have brought 50 kids from Maryville? Yeah. But like when we start looking at a number, then we lose sight of that story, right? That's where I feel like that's been the beauty of it, has been just hearing the change that's happening like so fast with some of these kids, man. And some of the difficulties would definitely be like the inconsistency, like like attendance wise, like you'll see a kid and then not see him for a couple weeks or whatever that be. But I kind of just told myself, man, like when they're here, you just let them feel seen, right? Like one thing I remember growing up is, kind of like you guys all grew up with parents that probably was pretty old school with the way they raised you, and it was, hey, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? Like speak when spoken to or whatever. And so you kind of feel like you may have felt like maybe, I couldn't really express myself or whatever. So now I just want to make sure students, when they come, whether you're junior high or high school, that you just feel like you're seen there, bro. Like, especially with like coming from education, man, when you see like kids, man, kids is mean now, bro. Like I like like in Merced, man, we had some freaking, you had some turds, bro, but like, it's just a different world. Like, cause I could trash you through this thing right here and you never know that I trashed you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I think that just being able to feel seen, to let people know that it's okay to love Jesus, right? Like that doesn't mean like perfection by any means. I try to let it, like, one thing I think is powerful is sharing your story, man. Like, especially from a pastor standpoint, like if you hear my story, then it's like, man, like, oh, so if Jesus could work in this dude's life, then yeah, I might be all right, man. Because like a lot of us, we start, like I remember growing up, man, I used to think that my pastor was this like perfect person and, all this stuff that like is very inconsistent and untrue. But that's like the mindset, right? Like people believe like, oh, because he's a pastor, like life is perfect, marriage is perfect. He's a great at being patient, and like, no, man, like I'm a regular dude just like the rest of them, man. So I feel like from a urban area, like to speaking to pastors in those areas, man, share your story, bro. Because if you don't, man, like people will continue to have this like misconception of what they think a pastor is or what they came from,
100%, bro. I think that applies to parents, it applies to teachers, it applies to coaches. I think anybody who's engaging like Gen Z, like that's our word to describe obviously this generation coming up right now.
Yeah.
Like they care about vulnerability, right? They care about people who keep it a stack with them, right?
Yeah.
And so even as people in positions of authority, right, in the hierarchy of the way our society works, like I think the way that Gen Z functions is they do much better when their leaders are vulnerable and like show their own weaknesses. And I think that like even it makes Jesus all the more brighter. Because like you're saying, I think sometimes like kids are convinced that they have to be perfect or they've got to do all this stuff. They can't have all these issues because they think that their leaders are perfect. But when they hear about the challenges that their leaders are experiencing and the things that they struggle with and the things that they struggled with previously, like, before, Christ like came in and changed them, or like it while they're still being changed, it like encourages them because they're like, oh shoot, like these cats are real people, you know what I'm saying, with real lives and real stories, and
Yeah.
like God is doing this thing in their life, and man, maybe he can do it in my life too, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
man.
yeah, bro, I feel like it's essential that we share our stories and that we um share who we are with them, because
Yeah.
like the thing is too, it's about relationship, like you're saying, right? Like bro, that like hit me in my soul when that you said that kid said this is the best week of his life, bro.
Of
Like
his life, bro. My
think
man's about to be a
about
senior.
think
Like,
about that, bro. This
man,
dude said that's the best week of his life. He's lived 18 years on this planet and he's saying this is the best week of his life. And
yeah.
like he's not saying that like in jest, he really means it as he's saying it. And so it's
Yeah.
like, man, that's the type of profound impact you can have on a young person just
Yeah.
by taking them somewhere, you know what I'm saying, and
Yeah.
letting them experience something completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that's a dope thing about the urban context too, like having the opportunity to take kids like outside of where they're from, like they may never have left their neighborhood before, bro. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a real thing. Like they've never left the hood, bro. They've never left those couple blocks that their
Yeah.
school is on and their house is on and the park is on that they kick it with their homies at. And so
Yeah.
when you get to take them to other parts of the world so they can experience other stuff, bro, like it's mind blowing to them.
Man.
And we take that stuff for granted, you know what I'm saying? Because we're, we got cars and we go on vacation and we do this and we do that. But like
Mm.
you can literally change a kid's life by taking them to see the snow in Flagstaff. You know what
Bro.
I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
simple stuff like that, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's even wild is now, when you hear like, okay, if I tell you my education, if I tell you, where I live now, like you would assume like, oh, well, this he don't know, he ain't been through what I've been through. And so that's why it's like you have to share the story, man. And I think from a hood perspective, right, or urban perspective, you have to remember, like, if you say you're gonna do something, man, you better
You
freaking
better
do it.
do it.
You better do it.
Facts.
Because like there's so many times in a kid that lives in an urban area in their life where they've been told, hey, hey, I'm gonna pick you up tomorrow or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? So if I tell you, hey, bro, I'm gonna I'll buy you a Gatorade, when you come to church this week. If you don't have no Gatorade, bro, then you just failed that kid. You may
Mhm.
have even lost
Facts.
them from like knowing, giving Jesus a chance in their life. You know what I mean? Like, because it's too prevalent in the areas that we come from, where inconsistent, fathers, mothers, friends, whatever it's terrible when you think about that, man. Because then it's like, you would have, I remember, with my mom, man, like she'd tell me she'd come pick me up, and like I stayed with my dad during the week, and then I was supposed to go with my mom on the weekends, and then she wouldn't show up, no call. And Merced, bro, Merced is not big, like, so you can get from one side of Merced to the other in 8-10 minutes, bro. Like, I'm talking the whole thing. And so that I remember, man, you'd sit there and be like, you just feel terrible, bro. And
Mm-hmm.
and so that, if you know what that feeling is, why would I ever want somebody else to feel like that? You know what I mean? Like, now I have a son, bro. Like, why would I ever tell my son that I'm gonna do something and then not do it? So
Mhm.
as a pastor, you have to do that, man. Because like some of these kids, not to say you're their dad or their father figure, but some of them, you are the most consistent male or female in their life. And you maybe
Facts.
see them once a week, maybe twice a week if you have like a Wednesday night thing or whatever. But like, that is important, man. If you say you're gonna come to my football game, then you better be at my football game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's too easy, but it's very easy to let that slip, man.
It's
I think that's
100%, bro.
I think
Go
that's
ahead,
dope
Chris.
because like I think it's dope because we try to rush in to share the gospel like so fast. It's like you see somebody on the street and then you just rush in out of nowhere and just try to share the gospel real quick. And
Mm,
it's like you think you're not going to see that person tomorrow. Like, nah, I'm gonna see you tomorrow.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It was in like I remember when I first got saved and like I was sharing the gospel with everybody, right? And then like even when I go back to the crib or to my section, like I'll share the gospel with everybody. But then it was like I had to learn that they won't even hear you if they can't relate to you.
Man.
Like they won't even hear you if you can't even build a relation, ethic, like a relational equity with them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it it's like because we always want to invite people to church. Yo, come to church. Come to church. Is like, man, I really don't do the church thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's what you're battling with. It's not just them. You're battling with how they perceive the church. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? Especially in the context of where we come from. Just using this as an example, but it's very difficult, even just for Black people to see the church as something positive when race is added into that. And so when it's like now you have to do your best to debunk that perspective, then you got to debunk that perspective of how they view like the church and the history of the church or what they was
Mhm.
taught about the history of the church.
Yeah.
So now you just got to build relations with them,
Yeah.
and like the gospel is shared so easy. I've learned that the gospel is very easily shared when you have relationships with somebody.
Yeah.
Like when you just step in out of nowhere and start sharing the gospel. I mean, I understand if you're feeling led to do it, then do what
Mm.
you have to do. But if you're not feeling led like that,
Yeah.
build relations with them. And then
Yeah.
like most of them, they're not gonna come to church because they don't want to sit down in the pulpit and hear a pastor that they don't even think that he's living the correct life. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so
Yeah.
it's like, and that's sad about that community. But
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you have to go where they are and let them see, like, yeah, I'm a regular person like you too. I've been through the same things like you too. And
Yeah.
this is how I got to the place that I'm at. So I think that's pretty dope, man. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
we get,
think
yeah.
I love that part of it where you're, another thing, another story I got to hear at camp was with another cat named Isaiah, man. And he told me that, I was like, well, hey, when we get back, cause he had never even come to any of our services at all, like high school, junior high. His mom just signed him up to go. And so we did our little one-on-one, and I was like, well, hey bro, like how about we go grab coffee or breakfast or lunch or something, man. And he goes, man, I've never had a dude in my life ever tell me that they take me to lunch.
Mm,
Like, I was like, hey bro,
Dang.
just something so simple, bro.
yeah.
Something so simple, bro. Little $12, $15 joint of
Mm-hmm.
of being able to take you to IHOP, Denny's, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that I feel like that specific story was just that that sounds so silly, but he felt seen for the
Yeah.
first
Mm,
time by just offering to take him to his favorite place to eat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be me telling him, "Hey, bro, why don't?" I mean, yes, of course, my goal is to get him to come to high school service,
Mm-hmm.
but like if I can't get him there, can I still impact him and show him Jesus through a meal, through he plays basketball, go to a basketball game, like
Yeah.
something as simple as that. You know what I mean? Like it's but if you don't take the time to know the kid, you how would you ever do that? How would you ever know that all it took was taking this kid to Starbucks to get a coffee?
Right.
You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like, but so it's intentionality, man. It's like in marriage, same thing. You gotta be intentional. In parenting, you gotta be intentional. Like, same with ministry, urban
Yeah.
ministry. I don't care where you live at, bro. Like, if there's no intentionality behind what you say or your or your way of reaching the kid, then you're not gonna be successful with that.
No, I agree with you, and I think that's dope because it's like, and every Gen Z is different. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, and what's dope about it is that the gospel can relate to every perspective that Gen Z has, but
Mm-hmm.
every one of them is different.
Yep.
One may be into the idea of tearing down the power structure. One
Mm-hmm.
may be into spirituality. One may be into like reading fiction and novel books and things like that.
Girl.
And like you can get to know them individually and share the
Yeah.
gospel that can relate to what they're passionate about. And so
Yeah.
I agree with you. You have to be intentional in getting to know them and them
Yeah.
getting to know you. But it's like they're all different.
Yeah.
Their
mm,
passions are different. What
Yeah.
they care about is different. And I think that that is where that relational equity comes into
Yeah.
to share the good news. And it's good because you do have a genuine relationship with them,
Yeah.
right? You genuine friendship, like, dude, I actually want to be in your life. I actually want to see how you become, what you become in life,
Yep.
20, 30
Mm,
years down the road. I want to see what you accomplish in life, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to see that in your life. Like, it
Yeah.
becomes more of a, like, it's like you want to be a blessing to them, but they're also a blessing to you.
Man.
You know what I'm
100%.
saying? It's like
Yeah.
it blesses you too. Like,
Yeah.
man, really enjoy your presence,
Yep.
and I want you to be around more.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful, like, tango. If that's a better word. Like, it's a beautiful tango, man, to be in these kids' lives and to help them see Christ, but they also help you see a different side of yourself as well.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah,
that's great. A great way to put that, man.
it's
yeah,
dope.
bro. I think about some of the time we spent on campus, Chris, like
Yep.
at schools, and I think about like we were going in schools every week, like particularly like the urban schools, right? We
Hmm.
go in every week, and then like maybe there's a week where we're not there because something happened or the
Yeah.
school like had some testing or something, so like
Mhm.
real talk got canceled or whatever else, and then you come back the next week and the first thing you hear is like, "Hey, where was you at last week?"
Yeah.
Immediately, bro. Like these kids are
Yeah.
on your neck.
Yeah.
Like, yo, where was you at, dog? Like,
They
where
Yeah,
ain't you
bro.
been here? Where you been? Like
they
what?
they
Like what
hate
happened?
consistency.
What?
Oh yeah.
But bro,
Yeah.
it's like it's
That's what
crazy,
I'm
bro.
learning.
Like just that simple, bro. And that's the thing about that I think about like the urban context in particular. It's like do the simple things.
Mhm.
That's it. Like you said, show up, right? Like be there every week. Do what you say you're gonna do. But then also I think too, like if something happens and you can't do what you said you were gonna do, be honest.
Yeah.
Like go engage that kid and be like, yo, man, my bad, dog. Like this
Yeah.
is what went down. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally meant to do that. Like,
Yeah.
yo, will you forgive me? Like, let's go like address that issue. Cause once again, what usually happens is, we get embarrassed and then we don't say anything to the kid. You know what I'm saying? Like we over here like hiding or something, or now we're not trying to engage them. And we're just
Yeah.
making the situation worse. We opened a wound and now we're putting our finger in it by not going over there and being like a
Yeah.
healing presence and saying, yo, my bad, dog. Cause they probably never heard that from the people, the parental or guided
Yeah.
guardian figures in their life. When they mess up,
My
they don't
pop
ever
still ain't never
apologize to
told me
them.
sorry for nothing, bro.
You see what
Like,
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
bruh, like 100%. And so it's like
yeah.
even that can be incredibly transformative. Like, wow, this person who's like in a like I consider a mentor or a leader in my
Yeah.
life or somebody I look up to, I put
Yeah.
in this like role. They came to me and humbled themselves and said, "Man, I'm sorry that I didn't do what I said I was going to do." That can
Yep.
be incredibly powerful and transformative for them too. Like,
Yeah.
what? You're willing to own up to your
Yeah.
mistakes?
Man.
I've never had anybody do that. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
just simple things like that, bro. Like you got to be willing to do that stuff in that context because
Yeah.
it's so
Even
clear that the little things mean so much more
yeah.
in that space.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like even when I was teaching, man, when I was teaching, bro, you would like to me it was like, hey, I gotta find a way to relate with these kids, right?
Mhm.
I'm way older than them, and I don't have like music wise, like I can't stand like rap nowadays. Like I think it's whack, right? But I love hip hop, right? So like it's something like in my classroom, man, I always had music on, right? Like if we're working, put music on. Like it'll be obviously the clean stuff, but like I'll put on something I know that they will sit there and study or do their assignment with music on, right? My summers, bro, during when I was teaching, and even Christmas break or whatever, you know how many hours of Fortnite I play with students, bro? I
Yes.
am trash at Fortnite, complete trash. But these dudes would want me to, like, hey, Mr. Wood, are you getting on today? Like, bro, like hey, don't forget, I got a wife and a that's pregnant at home. You know what I mean? But like, it's little stuff. That's why when I was in education, man, like you would have some teachers that have been in the game for a long time that are not willing to figure out what is important to these kids now, right? And so
Mm,
like then you become bitter in your job, and like the kids don't like you or whatever, and it's like, what are you doing to try and build a relationship with them, man?
Mhm.
Like I never yelled at my students, right? Like because I know how I react when people yell at me. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Like I like you tell a kid to shut up, bro. Immediately, I don't know about you guys. You tell me to shut up, immediately senses are up. right? Where it's like, oh, I don't respect this dude no more, right? Especially depending on where you come from, like that's a fight right there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you if you're in ministry, I don't care if you live in the hood or if you're in the richest city in the world or whatever. If you're in ministry and you're not doing something to relate with these kids, bro, like one thing I think we do an amazing job of at our church, man, is like we have coaches, right? Like so I was a junior high coach. So the student pastor, yes, you're there and you're you're in charge of your whatever your campus is, but it's the student pastors you bring in that build the relationship with the kid, that get them to keep coming back, right? And so these dudes they're out playing volleyball with these kids. They're playing dodgeball, getting blasted by dodgeballs by, you know what I'm saying? Like it's little stuff like that where I have to show you like, hey man, like I like, hey, let's have fun in some way, shape, or form, right? Let's not make our group time one thing. Like I always would see or make sure I didn't do is like we come out of our message, and we do group time. I'm not gonna preach to you again, right? I'm not about to give you another message where it's like, bro, I think of myself sitting in a classroom or sitting at church. I'd be like, bro, we just talked about this, but you're just saying it in a different way, right? Ask me some real questions. Ask me something about what I got from it. And hey, if I'm not giving you anything, okay, just ask me, hey, bro, how was your week? But it's like that's the miss is like if we're not, if it's just about like the relationship, like Chris said, man, if you don't build that relationship, bro, I promise you will lose that kid. Promise you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yes.
got to make that long game play, right?
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I think what's interesting is that it's difficult because it's almost like you're intentionally trying to make a friend, you know? And sometimes friendships just happen organically. You don't
Mhm.
really rush it, right? It's like when me and Jordan first met, we didn't like try to become friends. We just became friends, And so, but in ministry is different, you have to intentionally have to make a friend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can share the good news or be a good influence because,
Yeah.
we're called to be a light, right? We're called to be positive and peaceful. We're to show something different in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's part of the complications is how do I actually make a friend? You know what I'm saying? How do I actually go out
Yeah.
here? How do I get someone to like me? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's very easy to go out there, share the good news, and then just walk away. It's very difficult to show up to somebody and say, "Yo, can we meet up?" Or "Can you want to come to my house?" Or "You want to meet my family?" Or
Yeah.
"Hey, come to this event. We're all going to be there." It's like that's a long, like Jordan says, the long play. You know,
Yeah.
I think
Hey,
it's
with that long play, real quick before you go, man, like I want to make sure, like, so as a medic in the army, right? They would put you in their training. They'd put you in these rooms where strobe lights and you got like war sounds, like battle sounds, like Saving Private Ryan opening scene going off super loud. And then like they'll have a patient there, like a mannequin, sometimes like a person acting. And then you like they're like screaming at you, hey, get this bleeding, blah, 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 figure out what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, as you start struggling, right? Like you're trying to move fast. And then you would have like this drill sergeant that just got done yelling at me, telling me to hurry up. They would kind of like not like whisper in your ear, but like kind of lean over and be like, hey, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Right? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Because when we start speeding up, man, you miss so many steps. Right. So it's that long game, the slow process. So when we do it the slow way, we actually end up being faster because we don't make the mistake or we don't skip like, oh, I forgot to put a tourniquet on. I stopped the bleeding, but I
yeah,
never put a tourniquet on. So the bandage I put is about to be soaked in blood right now. You see
yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's that, man, that the slow is smooth, smooth is fast, man. Like I took a lot from the military, man, but that has always been big for me. And marriage and fatherhood and work, school, whatever it was, man, that the slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That went a long way. So I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but that always like I
Mm.
always wanted to make sure I put that out there, man.
No, that's good. I mean, it makes perfect sense, man, because that's the game we're playing, and it's like it's tough, to find the line because you don't know when they're going to leave your life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know when they're going to depart from you, right?
Yeah.
They're in your life now.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best way to impact someone's life? And I think is to be present,
Yeah.
to move
Mm,
different, to to be in their world, really live in their world, live in their mind, explore it, and so you can have a better understanding of how you can share the gospel.
Yeah.
Right? I believe that the gospel is a metaphysical truth that relates to every type of thing we can imagine. Yes, it is the saving grace. It rescue us from the wrath of God that is going to come on this world, but it's also it pinpoints the true struggle of being a human is to be morally good. And
mm,
I think that that's where we ought to relate to them. It's like, or it's something simple like, man, this person pissed me off today. Well, maybe you should forgive them.
Hey.
Forgive them? What you mean forget?
Yeah.
Man, you just cut me off. Man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
To
you
be
know
the
what I
person
mean?
to ask God for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like, just throwing stuff like that in there, man. And it's
Yeah.
like you have to be able to relate to them and be in their world, man, and show them that there's something different,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
help them to
mm.
see what's the real problem of humanity. It's not politics, it's not money. The problem isn't, any of those things. The problem is the fact that we're just morally off and we need help, you
Yeah.
know?
That's
So
good,
that's
bro.
good.
I was having a conversation yesterday with some youth pastors actually in Phoenix, and we were talking about like challenges in the urban context, and then we were talking about like one youth pastor was sharing how like this mom got his phone number and kept hitting him up because their son was on drugs and stuff, and he was kind of
Mm.
asking like, "Yo, do I just go over there and knock on her door and just like take this kid out?"
Mm,
And we were like, "Yeah, bro, do it." Like, get permission from the mom, roll up at the crib, be like, "Hey, bro, let's go." You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But like, even in this space, like as we're talking about the intentionality and the need to like be consistent, like the reality is to some degree we're gonna have to teach these young people things that other people in their lives that are adults haven't taught them,
Mm.
because they're like basic skills that may be missing or basic things that they don't know because no one's ever showed them,
Yeah.
stuff that we take for granted that maybe we had the benefit of being shown, or I don't know, maybe we don't even know ourselves, or maybe we just learned as older
Yeah.
men who finally got into, the workforce and,
Yeah.
got around dudes who actually like had parents, you know what I'm saying, kicking it with them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And um, so yes, like tying a tie, changing a tie, you know what I'm saying? Like I think about like the work that we're doing in youth
Mm.
ministry more specifically, but then I think about like, yo, some of these kids just need like practical stuff like, yo, here's how you shake someone's hand,
Yeah.
here's how you write a resume, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, like
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop
here's
dapping
how,
me up, bro, in a professional setting, bro. Shake my
yeah,
hand.
exactly, like here's how you go approach somebody if you need something, you know what I'm saying, like teaching them
Mm-hmm.
those types of things that would actually be beneficial to them in terms of like when they leave our space and go on into the world, like almost preparing them to go out into the world and be uh successful contributing members of society, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
And then I think ultimately too what we have to recognize is that we have like zero control over the decision to follow Jesus. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And the reality is like we we are like part of the process of them coming to Christ, and we
Mm,
Yeah.
don't know where they're at in that process, and we don't know when it's going to happen.
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you've been in any type of youth ministry for long enough, you'll know that like half the time it feels like these kids go backwards
Yeah.
before they go forwards, and like usually the kids acting crazy and they leave as seniors, and then a couple years later they hit you up and talk to you about how like being a part of what you were doing changed their life, and now they're
Yeah.
like doing all this stuff, or now
Yeah.
they're going into ministry themselves, or now they're like finishing college or whatever else. And it's crazy to think about, but we have to like keep that in mind. Like I think before, like from a marketing perspective, people had to like see something 7 times before they made a decision on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like 20. because of like the way the world works and because there's so much information. People need to like hear something a bunch of times before they actually make a decision on what they're going to do with that thing, whether they're going to buy it or not, whether they're going to like, sign up for it or not or whatever. And so, I know obviously, that's kind of like it's a weird analogy to some degree, because obviously we're not like marketing Christ in that sense, but it just takes a while and they need to hear it over and over and over and over and over again for a prolonged period of time before they're actually going to determine what it is they're going to do with what it is that we're telling them. And so we have to be patient in that process. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
That's good, man. Okay, so Houston, man, last question for you, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Like, what is there anything that you would want to leave influences with? So we call influencer parents, pastors, teachers, coaches, people that are in the space engaging young people on a regular basis. Is there anything that you'd want to leave them with that they need to know as they engage young people and like people, and more specifically, you come from the urban context, right? So anything you want to leave them with?
Yeah, I think it's just remembering, and it's easy for us to go into this mindset, but you got to remember that you're not Jesus, man. Like we weren't, like, God didn't put us on this earth to change anybody, right? That's not, like, you can model what you think you want from somebody. Like if you're a father, like you want to model like what you think a man should be doing or whatever it be. But just like what we used to always be told in football, man, was like, hey, DYJ, do your job, right? Do your job. And so I feel like a lot of times we start focusing on trying to change a student, where it's like that the change that's from Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit. That's it. Like you are just a cog in this wheel, where it's like, hey, you do your part in it, and that's it. Like you do what God has called you to do. So I think just making sure, like, just to kind of like humble ourselves and remember, like, hey, you're not Jesus, bro. Like, and just, continue to love on these kids, man. Like, I think that's important, man. Like if you can't, if you don't, maybe you don't write the best message, or maybe your curriculum's not whatever. Hey, I promise you, if you just love on that kid and just show him that same love that Jesus shows us, man, I think you'll break through at some point. And if it's not you, they'll be passed on to the next person that'll break through to them. So that would be my only, like, I guess, piece of advice to somebody that is in just a pastor in general, whether you're urban or suburbs or country, whatever it is. Like I just remember, like, hey, we ain't Jesus. Never have been, never will be, but we can model stuff. So just keep grinding, man.
No doubt.
Good.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you being on the pod, bro.
Man. Yeah, so proud of you, Jordan, doing your thing. Chris, it was nice meeting you, man. And like I said, we'll talk about that Niners and Cowboys stuff later down the road. I think Jordan's still a little hurt right now.
Hey, bro, this new season's coming up, dog.
Look,
you know what I'm saying? We ready, bro. We picking up them free agents, bro. We ready. Are we playing y'all this year or what?
I don't think we play you guys this year. Hey, maybe in the playoffs.
We'll see you in the play. Yeah, we'll see you in the playoffs. We'll see
that matchup though.
We'll see you in the NFC Championship game.
Maybe
give you that two piece.
Hey, maybe McCarthy will instruct you guys to slide again with 7 seconds left, man.
That's how you feel, bro? You dirty. You dirty,
man,
bro.
All love, man. Appreciate you guys. You keep doing what you're doing, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, man, for sure. All right, man. Well, that's another episode in the books, Chris. Listeners, thank you for listening. As we always say, this is the beginning of the conversation, not the end. And so if you got questions, comments, concerns, you know what to do. Hit us up in the comment section. If you loved it, like it, share it with a youth leader that you know needs to hear this, or maybe an influencer that needs to hear this. We appreciate you guys. We love you, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.